What's good, YouTube? Slendy Revolution X here, coming to you guys today with another edition of Slendy Talks. And today what I wanted to talk to you guys about was the issue with rogue decks in the current game state. Now, for those of you who know me, I am a very, very strong rogue player. I fight very hard. I'm the rogue warrior at almost every regional I go to. You know, my invites that I've gotten, I get generally with rogue decks, tier 1.5, tier 2, tier 3, stuff like that. It's right in my ballpark. And a lot of times, players that do this because they don't have the capital to be buying cards for a meta deck or like a tier 1 deck. Things like Thunder Dragons, things like Striker, and obviously Striker with the reprints of the Hero's Revenge became a little more affordable, but we're talking that last year when that deck was, you know, upwards of $600, $700, $800, fully decked out, ready to go. That's what you're paying for it. So, you know, these, you know, tier 2, tier 3 decks generally tend to be a little less expensive, a little more affordable for the average everyday player who might not be as competitive as, you know, the other people in their area. And I think that the issue nowadays with that is we're starting to see a time when if you want to be a rogue player, people who enjoy being rogue players, you're still having to throw down some serious cash for these decks. And, you know, it's a shame because I personally like being the underdog. And I know that's kind of strange, but that's just how I like to go about the game. I like to use my own ideas. I like to think about strange card interactions and way that I could play these kind of decks. Or just like decks that I enjoy in general, like Prank Kids. I really enjoy Prank Kids. Is it meta right now? Probably not. But the deck is very powerful, and I like playing it, and you know, I would consider that a road deck right now. But like I said, the issue that you're starting to see is with some of these decks, you're going to have to start throwing money down for like 3 cards in the deck that the deck doesn't necessarily need. But if you want to be that niche group of the rogue competitive player, you're going to need to spend the money on it. And sometimes it ends up being darn near more expensive than an actual meta deck. I'm talking about things like, you know, like 6 months ago, before Altergeist got hit, you're looking in a situation where you needed the 3 impermanents in that deck if you wanted to be any kind of competitive. And then Pot of Extravagance came out. So guess what? You're now spending roughly $100 on each impermanence before the reprint was announced. So, I mean, obviously now it goes down a little bit. And you're spending the goddamn $70 on the Extravagance a piece, just so you can try to beat that Thunder Dragon player, beat that Striker player that you show in round 7 at the regional that you need to beat to get your invite. And a lot of times things that do this affect consistency. Cards that end up being a little more expensive like that, they become the cards that allow those decks to be competitive. Like, allow the Altergeist player to get the multi-figure out on your opponent's turn, to dig for, you know, whatever you need. Dig for the Floodgate, dig for the evenly matched, things like that. So, that's great and all. But for the average player, you... it's just a struggle to try to do anything. I mean, I've been playing the game for a long time. I remember when the first Chaos Dragons came out. You could buy 3 of that structure deck and darn near be you know, a tier 1.5 player completely by itself. And, you know, this was a time, I think, before extra decks. Before, like, Synchro and Exceed. So you were looking in situations where you were able to just buy 3 structure decks and be competitive. Things like Agents did the same thing. When Agents came out and they had the, all you needed was the Gachi Gachi, and there was a couple other things that like went with that deck well. But you could essentially buy 3 of those structure decks as a non-competitive rogue player and have a chance in games. And I think we kind of saw that again with the release of the Salamangreat structure deck. But now, looking at Salamangreats, like, you... you know, it's not necessarily a rogue deck up until right now, this new present ban list, but you're looking at it as you need these cards to be able to play this $30 structure deck to be any sort of competitive. You need the Signet Minings. You need the Phantasmes. You know, that deck without Phantasmes has very little, like, push power. It just puts another body on board. It makes a huge difference from a deck that does or doesn't have Phantasmes. And then you can go even further. Like, the hand traps alone in that deck cost an insane. Between the no material, the Phantasmes, I mean, at this point, Ash isn't super expensive, but you're still spending $18 on a playset, depending on what you're going to put in that deck. So you're looking at something that the consistency cards in the deck outvalue the deck itself. And it was kind of the same thing with Subterrors. Subterrors is another one that I wanted to touch base on. So you're looking at Subterrors, you pay the $60 to get the Hidden Cities. Everything else is dirt cheap, but guess what? You still need to pay for the extravagances, and that's, at least $180 right there. More than those 3 cards together, combined to the cost exceeds the entire value of the rest of your deck. And for me, that's hard. And I'm sure it's hard for other like non-competitive players as well, more casual players, because you look at a situation where you're either invested in this game or you're not. And as harsh as that sounds, if you want to win games, you have to be invested. And that's another, issue in itself is it's hard to invest in this game because guess what? You might have those Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwoods. You might have bought the playset for $90, and then a week later it gets announced in a reprint, and now it's an $8 card. And that's another thing that kind of goes along with it. If you're not super competitive, aren't willing to play in every format, being a Rogue Warrior is tough because very rarely does your deck translate from format to format. And sure, it might do it for 1, maybe 2, but you can bet that in a year that deck's going to be darn near unplayable. So that's kind of something that I wanted to, get your guys' feedback on, just because it is a kind of a driving issue for the game right now. We're in such a world with Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it's so fast-paced to where you're just waiting for that next best deck. Guess what? Thunder won. Thunder is now the best deck. What's the next thing? It was Sky Striker, then it was Thunder, and now we're kind of just waiting for that next thing. People weren't buying Rising Rampage because they don't know, or because they don't think that there's a competitive deck to take down Thunder and Striker and Salamangreats and whatever seems to trickle in. Pendulums is in there as well. But that's what's really tough about being a Rogue Warrior and like trying to play these Rogue decks. And if you enjoy playing Rogue decks, trust me, I'm right there in that boat with you. But it's so hard to try to keep up with this, to where you're having to pay so much for this game. And if you want to be competitive, you need to do it. So that's pretty much all I got, guys. Kind of like a food for thought thing for you guys. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you guys have any comments, then leave them in the comment section below. I always love to hear from you guys. And as always, folks, remember to subscribe to join the revolution today. This is Slendy Revolution X signing out, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.